Okay, so after a really big sell-off on Friday, we come in on Monday morning to the live trading room. We're looking for the markets to go on another big move, but that's not always the case, guys. Okay, so I'm looking at the German DAX here on the 4-hour time frame. This was Friday's move down here. This was Sunday night's gap up in the market. We didn't get that gap down as I was expecting. That is quite rare after a big move on Friday. And now we're just sideways. So for the last for the last 4-hour candlesticks, 2 4-hour candlesticks, we're just basically gone sideways on the German DAX. So what could happen next? What am I looking for that could trigger off another big move, whether it's going to be up or down? Now, first thing I want to say here is we've completed a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave advance on the 4-hour time frame. 5 waves, often reverse then at the divergence signal. Okay, so that divergence signal kicked in on Friday. Then we got the big sell-off down here. Now we've just retraced back to the mean. So we're basically back into the range here. Now I'm looking at these hot zones, which are support and resistance areas. We were looking at these areas this morning in here. Okay, so we rallied back into that area, into that resistance area, and now we've just stalled. Okay, we had a nice little short side trade to short in from that range. And now the next potential move, what I want to see here, guys, is, let me first say though, is that when you're in the range, when you're sideways, then that's when your potential to get stopped out of trades. It's so easy to trade in a trending market. You're just buying the pullbacks and you're going with momentum. When you get into a sideways range, then that's when you can give all your profits back. So if you can identify, it's the pullback. Okay? Markets go in waves. We have a wave, an impulsive move, corrective, and then another move, and then corrective. Okay, so trends go in waves. Now on the 4-hour time frame, and this is, I'm talking about on the 4-hour time frame, not the bigger time frame, we are now in the potential of a downtrend. All right, the first initial push was on Friday. Now we're getting the pullback here on Sunday, Monday. The next move could be down. So I want to see reds. I want us to get out of this range here, and then we can target all the way down here. Okay, so this is around the 23,800 mark. That's where we start to see the top of this this area here. Okay, which is September's trading and August trading. All right, so mainly September's range here. So price loves to get where it was before. And so if we can sell off here, I'm going to be targeting these areas here. I'd have to draw that a little bit better, maybe drag that up a little bit higher. So there's a major resistance area, or I should say support area. Resistance is above price, but here's a major support area in this box. Prices could make lower highs. So we could make a lower high here. And if this fires red, and this fires red down here, momentum then again to the downside. So bulls have continually bought the dips. They've tried to buy the dip on Monday, well, Sunday on the gap. The market's pushed up on the open, Sunday evening, 11 p.m. London time. And so we're back into this range. Now, we could also draw some fib. So I like to draw my fib, goes well with Elliot Wave. So if I draw my fib here, we had the 61.8% golden ratio right in that hot zone area there, guys. Okay, so if we can break out from here, all paths lead to downward moves. Okay, probably another 300 to 400 points at least in this market. So for me, we're letting it, I'm going to do the live trading room again this afternoon. I'm going to let it get out of this chop into a trending market, then we'll start to be shorting these markets even further. Let's take a little look at the 1-hour time frame on the German DAX. We actually are starting, as I'm doing this update, we are starting to turn red here. We've got a storyteller that's very flat. So the flatness here is telling us there's another big move coming. We certainly don't want to be shorting on the peaks down here. That's where you get the rally. So let's see if we can roll over here, guys, and get out of the way of these tracks, get momentum firing down, and see some more downside. We've certainly on the DAX 1 hour come into this range here. You can see looking left is so important when you're when you're trading the markets from charts, of course. So you're looking for where it's gone before, and we can start to see a move back down. So I'm waiting to see if that happens Monday late on. If not, we'll probably get it on turnaround Tuesday. But it looks like it's trying to go now, in fact. So we'll see. If we can see that firing off some signals, when we're going to get down to these support areas right down here, right, on the 1 hour time frame. Let's dive into the NASDAQ. That's a similar place as well. So NASDAQ also has a hot zone resistance area around that 27,800 area here. And that was our target today. If we got into that area there, we would look for some short side trades. It stayed below that area there. And so the path of least resistance on the 4 hour time frame, or I should say, yeah, the 4 hour time frame here is downwards. Okay, so downwards. If we can get down to this support area 24,000, then that's another 600 points here, guys. If you're looking for a stop above this area 24,800 and a little bit more, then if we start to sell off here, you're talking the stop placement on the NASDAQ could be, if you're doing a 4 hour time frame, of course, I'm looking to find this firing off and then going down to the 5 and 1 minute time frame. So my stop is nice and tight, but you know, you can have a really good risk reward here. If you look at this, if you put a box in here, if we start to sell off and you had a stop just above here, let's say that's your stop and risk on this trade. If you copy these and then, well, I didn't really need to do that, but you can see here, that's a 2-to-1 risk reward. And that's the sort of profile minimum that you really want, a nice 2-to-1 risk reward. So we could roll over and it will, of course, extend beyond that into areas all the way down here, which I've drawn a 22,300 area. In fact, let me start again, guys. Put my teeth back in. 23,000, okay? So 23,000 all the way down here. If this starts to roll and go into a wave 3 down, then we're looking at these areas right down here. I want to dive into gold because I've had some questions about gold, direct questions, and I want to show you exactly where we are on gold and what could happen here and the potential for this next trade. So here we are on the 4 hour of the gold market. Let's delete those lines. Okay, so you can see we've had higher highs and higher lows all the way up here on gold. And it's all over the news, of course. Everyone's loving buying gold. It's going up. It's been brilliant. I've been long gold in individual stocks that are related to gold price. It's just been a really nice move to the upside. And if you look at the past video I did last weekend on gold and silver, I was saying that I was looking for a target of 4,009, I think it was, 4,007, 4,009, I think it was, guys. And we've gone way past that. We're trading now at 4,079. So, okay, let's have a little look. Let's draw some wave counts here and just sort of piece together where we are on the 4 hour time frame and the potential. Now, if I sort of just do a basic wave count here, not go into too much detail and try and keep it as simple as 5 waves up. Now, you can see that I've just drawn 5 waves very simply, taking each swing high. I could move it and make it a little bit tighter to here, and there's waves within waves. We don't want to get too tied up in sub counts because it really can confuse you. But the key, guys, the signal or the pattern that I'm seeing here is this 2-wave divergence. Now, commodities, gold, silver, they love to extend in 5 waves, and we're seeing that we're seeing it go vertical on the daily chart. It's been amazing, but I do get worried when it goes vertical with a 5th wave with 2-wave divergence. And then I'm looking maybe for a potential reversal down. Now, this is what I would look for, because every time I trade, I want great risk reward, don't you? And when I think I'm at the top of a move, then the risk reward potential is huge. Okay, and I'm just going to risk a small amount of money. So if we just look at the 4 hour, if I go down to the 1 hour, and I would also go down to even a 5 minute time frame here. If we start to drill down and start to get some reds, because the structure on the bigger time frame is a potential 5th wave completion pattern with divergence, and remember how the DAX finished on Friday, it finished with divergence that I mentioned. You can see here, if we get a red sell signal on the German DAX, my stop's going to probably be about here. My entry is going to be probably about here. I don't know where my entry is going to be yet until I get the signal. And then my profit target is probably going to be at this range low here, right down here. Price loves to get to previous support and resistance. So the obvious one is 3,944. Well, if my stop's around here, my entry's around here, you can see how big and wider the actual green box is here, or band is here, compared to the red. So my risk reward on this is great. And I think it's important that you know where you are in a trend. If I don't get a red, I don't get a trigger, then I don't get in the trade. But I'm going to risk small to try and make really big. Okay, to try and make really big. It's not easy catching tops and trying to catch bottoms in the market. I wouldn't advise that with anyone that's new. I would do momentum trades going with the trend. And that is finding small histograms, small sort of potential where the momentum is growing and building, and then you're already in the trade and it explodes higher. Catching the tops and bottoms of a strong market like this, needs a little bit of experience. You definitely need to be managing your risk extremely well. But for me, I get it. These trades provide us great risk reward, and I will need a signal. The structure's there. I need a signal. And I'm not going, if I get a signal now, I will take the trade. If I get a signal in an hour, I'll take the trade. So I wait for the signal patiently, okay? Because that's my edge in the market. I need an edge. If I don't wait for the signal, then my edge, I have no edge in the market. I need that signal, all right? So watching that very carefully here to see if gold does maybe have even another move higher, but I need to see some reds on this. But for me, that 4 hour with that big divergence is interesting, and I'm going to be all over it if I get some sell signals. I want to go back to the NASDAQ trade, guys, because there was one thing I forgot to mention on this video, which is quite interesting. I mentioned it on Friday video about the drop and what we were looking for. We just come back from our traders retreat in Lanzarote. We had a great, I was there from Saturday to Thursday, Friday morning. It was absolutely fantastic. Got back early Friday morning. And we were talking about this ending diagonal pattern. Ending diagonals, end moves. And you have a trend line coming over the top, trend line coming. I hope this is good teaching for you anyway. Understand ending diagonal patterns, because they can be very rewarding as well. And this is a trend line above the highs, trend line coming up the lows, and we get, price squeezing towards the apex here of this pattern. And normally what happens with ending diagonals is that you get a fast price action through the high of the trend line. And when it comes back inside, I was talking to the students at retreat, when it comes back inside and turns red, that is your short signal. All right, so the key for an ending diagonal pattern is trend lines merging, okay? Running up an uptrend, up the lows. And remember, a trend line has to have 2 points of reference. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 at the highs up here, all right? So I've basically got a reference point here. I've got a reference point here. That creates a trend line, which is angled up. Reference point there, and a reference point here as well, and it started from low. Now, with an ending diagonal like this, price loves to get back to the start of it, which is here, where I started that trend line. It's an obvious place, isn't it? So if that's the case, ending diagonals end moves. So if that's the case, then the NASDAQ should be seeing prices down here, as I said earlier, okay? So this has every potential. We are in a position, guys, for great risk reward. I'm not saying that you just blindly short these markets. You trade your own strategy. What I'm saying is this pullback gives us an opportunity in the NASDAQ, in the DAX, to have a great risk reward. Okay, sitting patiently waiting for this move is crucial if we get it. If we don't get it, then we're going to do a V pivot, and that V pivot looks something like this. I said to the guys in the chat room this morning, we've literally come all the way down here, and then we'll go all the way back up. And what does it look like? It looks like a V. It is by far the hardest trade pattern to trade, because as an analyst, as a trend trader, I'm a momentum trend trader. If it comes down here, you're expecting down, up, stop, down, up, stop, down. That's what you're expecting. But if it does a V pivot, it's a tough pattern to trade because it's straight down and straight back up, and it creates a V. And we've seen plenty of those in the bull market over the last several years to trade. All right, buying the dip basically, and just buying the dip. As soon as we have made a lower low here in the NASDAQ on the 4-hour. Do we make now a lower high, which is this pullback zone in here? And what we were looking at this morning were these hot zones to trade from and a couple of short side trades, but nothing big this morning just yet. We're still waiting. We could get it this afternoon. All right, guys. Hope it helps. A load of free resources in the description down below. If you want to dive into the color method with us here at Trading College, Trade It Live in our trading room, please feel free to request a call back. But make sure you give us a like for the video, and I'll speak to you soon, guys. Take care. Have a great rest of the trading day.